Hi, everybody. This is Julie McGrath. I'm founder of The Joy Source, reminding you that you are worthy of unlimited joy. And I have some special guests tonight in the studio with me. We're going to talk about a topic near and dear to my heart, and it's the reason why I wrote my book, Joy Worthy, A Mother's Guide to More Joy, Less Stress, and No Guilt. And so those last two words, no guilt, is what we're going to be talking about today, because I think so many moms out there struggle with it. So we're going to get into it. And so my first guest is Miss Julie, another Julie in the studio.
Hi, happy to be here. Thanks for inviting us.
Awesome. And tell us about your kids and how many you have and their ages.
All right. So I have 3 children. They are, my daughter's 12 and a half, and my boy's turning 11 tomorrow.
Very nice.
Yes. And all 3 of my children are adopted.
And you have a full-time career.
I have a full-time career. Yep.
And
multiple full-time careers.
And going after also, dreams that you have, which we are going to get to in a little bit. And then I have Miss Carol, who is a Joy Source groupie from the get-go and attends all of my yearly retreats on Hampton Beach. Hasn't missed one yet. Coming up to 10 retreats this coming March. So Carol, say hello.
Hi, Julie. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I was thrilled for you to text me and ask me to be here, so thank you.
Yes.
I have 2 boys. My oldest, Justin, is just turned 16, and his younger brother turned 15. They're 15 months apart.
Oh, interesting. Okay, and you also have a full-time career.
I do.
Yes. So my first order of business is to just get right down to moms and feeling guilty about doing anything for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So, I host these big events. You all come to them. And some women still struggle with, do I deserve to go? Am I selfish to go? What if my kids need me? And all age kids, I hear, my kids won't go to sleep if I'm not there with them. My kids need me for this. And so they really limit themselves in this place of, so I really shouldn't do much. So how have you ladies been able to just take that time for you to say, I'm leaving for the weekend? I mean, was that hard for you initially?
You want me to go first?
You go first.
So I can say I can think back to the first one I came to, which was it 5 or 6 years ago? Well, I think so. This will be my 6th year, maybe. I don't know, but I'll never forget. I was away at Great Wolf Lodge over February vacation, alone with my kids and another parent, other moms and their kids, but doing it again myself. And Carol had posted the retreat on Facebook. And I thought, at that very moment when I saw it, I'm like, I so need this. And so I said, I'm going to book right now, because if I don't, I'm going to back out because of guilt.
Yes.
And all the reasons why I shouldn't leave my husband alone home with the kids, or I shouldn't leave my kids home alone, or whatever, but feeling extremely burnt out, having been at Great Wolf Lodge with 9,000 other kids in chaos, and said,
Crazy.
you know what, I'm booking right now. I booked. I called my husband and said, I'm going, so just keep that weekend free, and that's that. But Carol can attest, my first year there, I was a nervous wreck.
Yes, she was.
I couldn't even eat dinner on that first day, because I went for the Friday night. I did like the extra night, and I remember them saying, come down and have dinner with us, and I couldn't even. I was so tense about being there. And now I can't wait to get away from them.
Yes.
I do have to say, what I do love about Julie when she does go to these retreats is she treats herself.
Yes.
It takes her forever to get out of that house, but when she does, she has oceanfront,
That's what
chocolates,
I need to do.
wine, whatever it takes, and she
exactly.
But you can tell it that it's well earned.
Yes.
It took a lot to get there, but making that first step, finally just saying, like, you know what, enough is enough. I'm burnt out. I'm tired, and I need to do this for me.
Yes.
But I think it's more challenging for some people. Again, I was raised very Italian Catholic, so guilt was a huge part of my upbringing, and that's part of just feeling unable rather to be able to do stuff for yourself.
Right.
And then you have, maybe a spouse who doesn't see eye to eye on that either, and kind of add some guilt to that. And so it just kind of goes on and on and on. But when you realize that you really need this for you, And like I said, I mean, I haven't looked back since, and obviously have added other weekends into my life, and enjoy it very much now. The kids are a little older, so it is easier.
Yes.
I think I did find it a little bit more challenging when they were younger. And again, my kids being adopted have a lot of varying degrees of special needs and issues, and so it was hard for me to leave them.
Right.
And still is a little bit, because they still have some issues that they deal with. But it's that whole if you're not able to take care of yourself, how can you take care of others, right?
Absolutely.
So you have to fill your cup.
Yes.
It makes you a better parent in the long run for it.
Right.
And I got to be honest with you, even though this will be my 10th, I still fight for my joy weekend with my family.
Yeah.
The mornings that I'm leaving, they're still chasing me out to the car. Oh, where is this? Where is that?
Texting you when you're away. Where's
exactly.
this? Shut the phone off.
Right. So, but it is a yearly reminder that you have to take care of yourself, and you have to renew, you have to recharge,
right?
And it's very, very important to do that, because you can lose yourself in your family and what you do for your kids. And
right. So I want to piggyback on that and say, what I found resentful, early on in my life is, why do I have to fight so hard for it? And that had but we do. And I would say in my book too, that it's worth the fight, even though it's a lot. Like maybe we have to make sure that, the fridge is stocked, and we have to make sure that everything's set out perfectly before we leave. But it's worth it in the end to do that, so that we have that time, and then it gets easier. But I always would say, it's not that anybody really hands it to you and says, you really need a weekend away, or you really need that massage, or you really should go hang out with your friends. It's just this, I don't know if it's society, cultural, family, all of these things, and maybe all of them together, saying, well, what a good mom does is she's home with her kids. Right. And although I can appreciate, because we sacrifice all the time for them. So that's what we do as moms. We love them. We sacrifice for them. But then it comes back to, and I know so many women who will say, gosh, all I do is yell at my kids. I'm so drained. I'm so empty, but can't fight, can't see that they need that time for them. And that is something, that's why I started that weekend, so women can come and just enjoy. Even one night can be glorious for some women, just to get away. But I wanted it to then become a pattern of saying, yeah, when I feel this empty, like I need to renew, and it might mean I need to fight for it, and it always would seem, again, this is a very general statement, but husbands, have no problem walking out, getting their needs met, washing their trucks, and going out and doing this and going that, and just assuming we're going to be home taking care of all the rest. Right. And that I know is society throughout years and years and years. But there's a way that it's changing a little bit and shifting, where there's stay-home dads and all of that. But there's still a lot of guilt on moms. And I never saw it coming until you have kids. And it was like, oh, you're going where? Oh, well, where are your kids going to be? Or you're going to work and you put your kids in daycare. I mean, it starts that early. And I always found that it's those women, I felt like almost, who couldn't have their independence or didn't know how to get it, tried to guilt you even more and make you feel worse.
I think that ends up being a big issue, where women should be technically supporting one another, but they are the ones that offer the most advice, if you will, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Yep. And, again, having adopted my children with some issues, and, parenting needing to be very different than, say, the way other people parent, you can't believe the amount of people who had come to me with their own tips and, you don't do that and don't do that. And, and
unsolicited.
Right. And my kids had been, a therapist, and I had, professionals telling me how to do things, and and other people judging that stuff and not giving that support. And, and it is very overwhelming. And then feeling that guilt even more of like, oh my God, these kids have issues. Like, how can I trust them with somebody? How can I leave them with somebody? Like, they're my responsibility. Like, I took this on. This was my choice. Right. So, working through all of that to finally be like, okay, yeah, you can't do it 24/7. Like, you can't.
You cannot.
We're human.
Right.
And
right.
we have to acknowledge the fact that we're human and we can only handle so much. And it does take a village to get through whatever. Right. And, should be supporting one another and helping and, not judging.
Right. And to speak to that as well, is like, I always felt like, well, I will ask for help when I get this much done. I will, or I can't let the grandmother take them because I need to do it. I always
Okay.
felt like I always had to be the one to do it.
Okay.
And you do need help, and you do have to ask for it, because it does free up that time for yourself that you so desperately need.
Right. And I agree. And I think it starts as young as, you're not breastfeeding. You're giving it starts there.
I didn't have to deal with that.
Yes, right. And then it gets to, you're putting your kids in daycare, or, you're having, babysitters, and babysitters are a big deal for people who feel like, I want to do it all, or my kid won't go to bed without that. And I would just be like, oh, well, then don't sleep. Like I need to go out and have an evening out. And my kids love my babysitters. I had some really great ones that my kids, I can't be fun all the time, right? And so you have these babysitters that come over and just play with them and time with their grandparents. And I mean, it was just very special that that I didn't feel guilty about. And I watch women so struggle and say, yeah, but couldn't you use a night out just to do anything, but not just to take away from making the dinners, or, if you have babies or whatever. Everybody needs that break. And I think that it's tough when family puts the guilt on you. I think that's, especially hard. But I agree. I think women, we should be supporting whatever their choices are. We really should be supporting each other and saying, well, that must, that's best for you, whatever it may be. But I knew I always wanted a career, and I was not made to be a stay-home mom. I was very clear with that. I enjoyed dropping my kids off at daycare and going to work and being professional. That's not everybody, but that was my choice.
Oh, my God. I remember when my boys finally signed up for kindergarten, doing so happy, and so many people I was like, oh, my God, they're finally all in school. Now, even this year, I'm feeling because they're all in middle school. They're all getting on a bus in the morning, and they won't be home till the afternoon, and feeling so overjoyed, and other people are
and it's good for them.
My babies are going to school,
them.
and that's
right.
great, but that's just not me. I was like, go to school, have fun. You need to meet other people. You need to get other experiences, and you can come home and tell me all about it, and I can't wait to hear about it. But you know what? It's your time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I just, were you both surprised at the guilt that was put on you when you had kids, or did you know that was coming?
I think for me too, again, it being different because my kids being adopted, so I didn't get the whole all the baby stuff. They were little, but I didn't have to breastfeed, or it wasn't pregnancy. So I think some women get it right from pregnancy. The guilt starts. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I didn't get all that stuff, but then it was for me, it was people not understanding my kids' situations.
Okay.
Having my 3 kids having been born addicted to drugs and having different situations and different things that they needed. So there was a lot of sensory stuff with them, and so when I didn't want them to eat certain foods or whatever, there was judgment there. And it wasn't because I'm not some organic nutcase, but I was trying with ADHD and stuff to limit some dyes and things, and people judging that. Now they eat whatever and do whatever, but you try to do whatever the professionals tell you to do, and there was judgment for doing that. They're telling me to do that. So I think I got a little bit of different feedback from people, and the guilt from people that really didn't understand our situation, because everybody's situation's a little bit different.
That's
anyways.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and even my daughter being adopted and my twins being adopted, but still being from very different circumstances.
Sure.
It was still, I had to treat them differently too, as you do with biological kids too, but there was a little bit of extenuating circumstances, I think, that contributed to some of it, Yeah,
I think my guilt, most of it came from inward.
Okay.
I never felt like I was doing enough, but I was constantly felt like I was just running.
Okay.
And so, and I'm like, am I a good parent? Am I, do they have enough? Are they doing what they should be?
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Meeting their needs. The same thing, like the special needs or this or that. Am I doing what I need to do to keep them in a good place? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think it's also different too. You have 2 boys. Right. Like we both have a girl and a boy, right? Yeah. So I think, there's a different set of guilt with it, I think, with the relationship with your daughter, relationship with the boys, there's different sets of guilt, you know what I mean? So, your daughter can guilt you one way, it comes from the kids too.
Right,
not
no,
just
absolutely,
outside.
yes.
Your kids make you feel guilty, right?
Yes,
because they're like, you're leaving me? Yeah, I am leaving you.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not going to feel bad about it. So
That's right.
And now, now I put it back to my daughter because she does all the sleepovers, and then I'm like, oh, you're leaving me? Oh, how's it feel? Now that's what but it's fun. Go have fun and talk to her. And now when I'm away on a weekend like this past past weekend, and she was away, I was away, and well, hi, are you having fun? Yeah, are you having fun? You know, and she gets it
Yes,
now, right?
right.
But I still go away on the weekends, and I arrange everything. You know,
Yeah,
my
and-
daughter's at a sleepover. My boys are, you know, somewhere where they need to be. It's like, you know, so.
Yeah, I agree, and when I will say that when my son might say, you know, you're leaving again, or where you going tonight? I say I'm going for a massage. Doesn't mommy